So anyway, let me show you a few things. This was an editorial cartoon of what the Tapeworm Railroad looked like. Yeah, if you saw that in the paper, yeah, that looks pretty crazy. And one of the complaints is that the railroad went past Thaddeus Stevens Iron Mill, okay, which was the Mariah Iron Mill, which is in Fairfield, Maryland. This, however, was not a fair criticism because Thaddeus Stevens actually had left that iron mill in 1837 and moved to another location for his iron mill over in Fayetteville, Pennsylvania, which is called Caledonia, and that's 16 miles away. So his new iron mill was nowhere close to the Tapeworm Railroad. I guess next slide. This is what the route was of the Tapeworm Railroad. It did zigzag wrong, but the question in my mind, and I guess this would require a lot more historical research, is there any way that it could have been done with less zigzagging? Let's see. The next one we have. Oh yeah, this is a historic sign. It's on Iron Springs Road in Fairfield about Thaddeus Stevens. Of course, it's about 3 miles away from the remnants of the Tapeworm Railroad, which is very confusing. Next one. Now this is a viaduct that's in Mount Hope, Pennsylvania, which is interesting because it's like someone's backyard. Basically, it covers this river, nothing on either side. It's just sitting there waiting for somebody to build a railroad over it. And then this is the next one. And this is another remnant of the Tapeworm Railroad that is on Iron Springs Road. And in this case, the road actually goes over the remains of the viaduct. Then the next one. You can actually still see some of the grading around in the area. This you can see where they had dug away for the railroad bed. And then the next one, believe it or not, you got to kind of use your imagination. This is the furnace stack for the Mariah furnace. Okay, there's the railroad. Okay, like if you didn't have to build a railroad there, if it was done simply because of Thaddeus Stevens Iron Mill, why would there be a railroad there now? So, and then Mike actually went and got some more slides. It's at the Mariah Furnace. It's on Iron Springs Road in Fairfield. Well, it's behind a house, and it's next to the railroad. There's a white church, if you're familiar with it. It's between this house and the railroad. It's interesting. I talked to the guy who owns the house, and he said, "Yeah, I know it's all important." He says, "To you, it's a treasure. To me, it's a pile of rocks." And hopefully, he's not going to do anything to it, which is good. His apathy is commendable. But one of the things that you probably would like to get somewhere down the line is maybe get some sort of historic easement, which would prevent them from screwing around with that. So anyway, this is a map that I got off of the internet. And this is the current CSX route, and he's kind of put a box on here. So you can sort of see, if you can sort of go back to, if you can sort of visualize what the old map I showed, it generally goes in the same direction, and it sort of still has the same sort of curvature as the Tapeworm Railroad. And Mike even got some aerial shots.
Zoomed in a little bit more. This is where the aerial shots are going to be. And
you want to go up here and show them
what my pointer.
Oh, you got your pointer. Okay.
As soon as it wakes up here. This is the current CSX route, and you can see Iron Springs Road kind of comes up through the middle of this horseshoe. And, I'm sorry?
I guess the furnace is like back here.
Yeah, the furnace would be I'm gonna say somewhere in
But,
here.
yeah, I think actually, yeah, right
That's
there,
the
right,
church
yeah.
there, I think.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
So
So
probably
the
right
furnace
back.
tank is like right next to the, okay.
Where's Fairfield?
Huh?
Is Fairfield there?
Well,
Fairfield's back this
yeah,
way.
Fairfield would be just off the screen.
It's up next to Jack.
But more importantly, with this picture, which is Google Earth, you can, if you follow my mouse here, you can see the. I'm trying to push so hard. If you see the mouse moving along, you can see the cut of the tapeworm pretty clearly through here. I'm off a little bit, but right through here, and then it gets really clear over here. And it was.
And it sort of picks up with it.
It gets closer to the current line, but it parallels it around this side of the mountain. And if you know where Ledge Lane is off of Jack's Mountain Road, there's a fairly big cut up that lane. Unfortunately, I didn't bring that picture. I had it blown up, but I omitted it from here.
What's the difference in elevation where it gets real close?
I've not been hiking up there, but I would estimate it's probably at least 50 feet or more difference. And I know it's not real clear on here, but we were just looking at this general area here, and you can see the current CSX line coming around here.
That's the current line.
Yeah, that's the current
Okay.
line. And unfortunately, the resolution just didn't work out on this screen to see the
Tapeworm.
tapeworm, but it pretty much parallels it along from here. Yeah, this would be Jack's Mountain Road right here. And Ledge Lane is right about in here. I'm not sure the
Yeah.
ownership of that lane, whether you can actually drive up there, but I'm gonna do it at some point.
Yeah, I'm gonna now sort of engage in a little partisanship, defending Thaddeus Stevens on this, because he got a lot of grief about this whole Tapeworm Railroad. And as you can see, the general railroad was built. Can you go back to the map? Just the line drawing on the Google Earth. Okay, one of the criticisms was that the Cumberland Valley rail line, which I guess is over here,
That'd be the blue.
would connect Harrisburg with Maryland, with the B&O, at a much cheaper cost because it wasn't going over any mountains, okay? But what is the one thing that you don't get when you do that? No service to Gettysburg. I mean, if you're the representative from Gettysburg, do you want to like service Harrisburg? You know, it makes sense that you have a train going from Gettysburg to the B&O. You know, you don't want just one route for the whole state. So I think you have to sort of keep in mind one of the reasons that it was such a controversial project was because Thaddeus Stevens was a very controversial person. I mentioned, and I didn't go into it, that he was an anti-Masonic candidate. And maybe some of you were wondering, whoa, there was an anti-Mason party at one time? And curiously enough, the anti-Mason party was the first successful third party in our country's history. And they were actually the first political party to hold a convention to select their candidates. The way they got started was the Masons kidnapped and presumably killed a man in upstate New York for threatening to reveal his secrets. You know, always, whenever I talk to a crowd, I think, are there Masons in here who will take offense at this? And there are. I apologize in advance, okay? But in any case, because of that, and then there was a big cover-up because of all the Masons' judicial connections. So this guy caused outrage to the nation. And Thaddeus Stevens, who was very much against any sort of elitism, latched onto this party. And when, as I said, the governor was elected as an anti-Mason and the legislature was anti-Mason and Whigs, he actually held hearings in the legislature where he called like former Governor Wolf to come before his committee. Of course, he refused to come. And so I think that type of things made Thaddeus Stevens very controversial. And the Democrats didn't like him for that reason. Then they also didn't like the fact that he kept the second Bank of the United States alive. And for all those different reasons, I think the Tapeworm Railroad just got, pushed together with everything about Thaddeus Stevens. And as you can see from that cartoon, that's a little bit more of a tapeworm than the actual railroad turned out to be. So anyway, that's my presentation.